to talk a little bit about the power of story. When I think I was about 11, I moved from Calgary to a small town, Brooks, if any of you know it. It's a city now, but at the time it was quite a small town for me. So I was there from about 11 to 14, so not the greatest developmental time to be pulled away from your friends and the city that you know. And I was pretty isolated, but in Brooks, on Main Street, or the one right to the side, there was this little brick building that had on its ground floor a comic book store. And that's where I spent most of my time. So I wasn't into comic books before that, but being in this small town, not knowing anybody, that was really how I kind of managed. It was getting into comic books. And that was great, except that it was all consuming, right? Other people were telling these stories. I was just consuming them. And I wanted to kind of get in on the action. So one time, we were taking a trip to Calgary, and I was at it's about a comic store, a game store. I don't remember where anymore. And I found this box, which was the Marvel Superheroes role-playing game. And that was wow. You mean you can act out this stuff? That's fantastic. So I bought that in a heartbeat, with whatever allowance I had. I think it was $50, which is a lot of time, a lot of money. Sorry, in I'm not going to tell you what year. And I loved it. I read all the books. I got home and I took it to my best friend. I said, we have to play this. And he said, my mom's not going to let me play that. I said, well, why not? What's the problem? Well, it turns out my best friend's older brother had started playing Dungeons and Dragons and had become a Satanist. At least that was the story his mother believed, right? He started playing Dungeons and Dragons, and that led him to become a Satanist. You know, it wasn't the hardcore heavy metal he was listening to. It wasn't the druggy friends that he had or anything. It was he started playing this role-playing game, and he became a Satanist. And no matter how much we tried to say, well, no, this is different. Like, there are no dragons, there are no dungeons. Like, we're talking about Spider-Man here. No, his mother would hear none of it, right? The story she had in her head was role-playing games lead you to become a Satanist. So my best friend wasn't allowed to play it. And that's the power of story, really. It completely bypasses the rational part of the brain. And the reason it does this, and this is fairly new research, it turns out from the research that's current now that we have, as humans, a predisposition, a hard wiring to learn things through story. That this is kind of an evolutionary adaptation. So the way I put it in the book is, if you cast your mind back 40,000 years. So we're in the Stone Age. And Carl the Caveman, after a long day of doing cavemanish things, has just sat down by the fire. Tonight, Katie the Cave Woman is telling a story about her brother. She says her brother had always been a good kid, he followed the rules, never got into too much trouble. Seems her brother was collecting berries one day. His favorite kind was in season. It was just over that hill, in fact. Suddenly, he heard a rustle in the bushes. He didn't think much of it. You know, bushes rustle all the time. So what? Then a saber-toothed tiger came out of the bushes and ate him. The end. Well, Carl the Caveman is terrified. Who knew that a rustling in the bushes could mean a tiger's going to eat you? That's brand new information for him. So the next day, while he's off collecting firewood, Carl the Caveman is thinking about Katie's story. And he hears a rustle in the bushes. It's probably nothing, he thinks. Or not. It could be a saber-toothed tiger, ready to pounce and eat him. Carl throws up his firewood in the air and dashes down the hill just as he hears the growl. He doesn't look back. Katie's story got his attention and put him in the place of Katie's brother, but without having to contend with the real tiger, and learn the lesson the hard way by being eaten. The story acted as a simulator. It gave Carl a risk-free experience that just saved his life. So, partly because of the lesson he learned from Katie's story, Carl the Caveman lived to father many children, passing on his story-loving genes to them. And generations of story lovers later, we have those same genes. Katie's brother was saber-toothed tiger lunch before he could pass on anything. All right, what I would like you to do